Okay guys, so there's another episode on cosmic disclosure regarding this allegedly supposedly new insider Jason Rice. Now what's his name, Jordan Savik's come out and was a bit weary of him, a bit suspicious of him, and I watched him, and then he seems to have gotten better in this third episode. He seemed to be fairly what would you call it? The first episode on Guy was well, as with these things, there's lots of questions that need to be asked. It did seem first episode seemed a bit wooden and scripted. Same with this one. It does seem, my first question, the biggest question I have regarding this, supposed new insider Jason Rice, is what are his credentials? Can we have some credentials? It's a bit like the, the thing with Kavanaugh and old, Dr. Ford. I mean, anybody could come out and say anything. We need to know, what are your credentials? Does anybody can back you up on what you're saying? But my main question when I look at this, even though it's interesting, it fills in a lot of gaps for me regarding the history of the secret space program. My main question is, where does he get his information from? Now, a lot of these questions could be answered today, in fact, October 3rd, because he's going to be on with Jimmy Church on Fade to Black. Now, according to this, Jason was identified as an intuitive empath, i.e. while enrolled in the experimental behavior study, and was recruited into a MyLab program in 1977, working and training alongside other children in Jacksonville, Florida. In 1985-86, he was enrolled in 8th grade in Jacksonville and underwent his most intensive MyLab training yet. 1986 marked the end of an 8-year MyLab training regimen, and at the age of 13, he was assigned to active duty in a 20 and back program. Jason began specialized training in 1994 to serve as an officer in the ground forces of the Interplanetary Defense and Reactions Forces, IDAF. What I thought about that was it's lucky it didn't have a T on the end. It would be IDAFT. He, in this latest episode, he does seem more, what would you put it, credible. Credible, is it more, they seem more relaxed. Him and Jay Wideness seem to be a bit more relaxed. But yeah, the questions I have is, but once again, it seems very, he doesn't know ums and ahs, and he rattles things off like a machine gun. Doesn't even seem to think about things or much. It still seems very scripted. Maybe it's because he's gone over and over in his mind so much. Who knows? I'm prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt at this stage. I'm thinking that Jimmy Church will, get more out of him. Background, where he comes from, how, etc., etc. Because at the moment we don't know much about him. He's just rattling stuff out. So I'm looking forward to his Fade to Black interview with Jimmy Church. Second program. Tonight we discuss every aspect of his life, which would be good. secret space program IDAF, and why he's come forward at this time to share his, okay. In the latest episode of here, I'll give you a quick rundown, and my memory's not that good, so I'm going to miss a lot, and I might get a few things wrong, but a quick summary of a history of the secret space program. One of the main things they covered was that how the Cabal got the mind wipe weapon, which has enabled them to progress a lot. One little thing like the mind wipe, he calls it the mind wipe wand. Apparently the Challenger explosion, and I don't know when it was, the 80s or whatever, that was actually and apparently America and Russia being, there's no Cold War, America and Russia being working together. There was no Cold War, and the American Russians got their hands on this mind wipe weapon by blowing up the Challenger. The Cabal aspect of Russian and Americans got their hands on this mind wipe from that explosion. Okay, now history of the, it does fill in a lot of gaps, I have to admit. If it's all true, it sounds sort of, legit. Sounds, perfectly logical, as far as you can put logic into the stuff. Okay, so he goes into the, the fact that, he basically says that, the Cabal sort of, started up, or were really responsible for getting Hitler going, but he says that Germany actually hates the Cabal at this stage. Don't know what the current state of affairs is with them, but yeah, and he goes into Antarctica. Okay, so the Germans did a deal, as most people know, with the Draco, and swapped information, and then he goes into the history of the moon, which he says is is not a organic. It's a man-made thing, the moon. And then he also goes into how the Cabal and the Germans they did deals, both did deals with the Draco, because the Draco already owned most, if not all, the area on the moon. He goes into how they did the deals, the Germans and the Cabal did deals to get bases land on the moon. He goes into once the Cabal got the mind wipe technology, they then obviously amped up and got were keen, did a deal to get land on the moon. I think he said that the Dracos just let me think about this. Okay, so the Germans were already on the moon, I think, and anyway, if you watch Jimmy Church, you're going to hear most of this, I'd say. But at some stage, the I think it was the Germans knew that the Cabal had the mind wipe and they were heading for the moon. Don't quote me on all this. So they the Germans headed for Mars and set up all their stuff, started doing you know, the setting up their programs, etc. In the 80s, Solar Warden was started. I think he said there. But what I have to say about this whole thing is, like I say, okay, I'm getting, for the time being, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt until we know more. We might better glean more from his interview with Jimmy Church on Fade to Black today. Yeah, at the moment we have no credentials. We have no one backing him up what he's saying, you know, like we do with the other insiders, other whistleblowers. At the moment, you know, who's backing them up, etc. It does, like I said, he does seem to fill in a lot of blanks regarding the, you know, the Germans and the cabal and US and Russia, etc. But he seems to just run it off like it's, you know, nothing, you know, easily, no ums and ahs, and yeah, so there's that. But yeah, if you haven't not subscribed to Cosmic Disclosure, you know, go and watch this Jimmy Church, October 3rd, which is today. Watch that, because you get a lot more. We'll find out a lot more about this guy, hopefully. I think that's about it, because I should have noted things down, but I'm just one of the main things was he just goes over his version of the history of the secret space program, and he said one thing that was, he seems to think that one thing that was really instrumental in amping things up for the cabal was getting the mind wipe technology. Okay, yeah, because I think the Germans had the had the mind wipe technology for a while, but then the cabal got it, and then I think the Germans eventually found out about the real reason behind the Challenger explosion, and they sent, you know, relevant people a message to say they know that they did this to get their hands on the mind wipe technology. Okay, cheers.